All right, welcome back, guys, to the Magic Man Pod. This is the episode 17,
17.
and today once again I have Joe here with me. Joe, what's
And
up?
I have Piyush here with me.
Always, I'm always here. One thing which is consistent.
Yeah.
एक बार बस मैंने miss किया है, which
कब?
was planned. जब नेहान आया था.
हाँ.
So that was the time that I missed. You.
But he still was talking to you only.
He was all constantly looking towards me. So, guys, let's talk about the breaking news that we have this week. We were all very, very eagerly waiting for the UFC 294. We had fantastic matchups like our main event, which was Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira. Unfortunately, the developments in the past few days, Charles Oliveira suffered a big cut during his training, which we'll talk about a little bit. And he had to pull out last minute. 1 week left for the card and he had to pull out. It was a big challenge for UFC and Dana once again delivered. So props to him. We always trash talk him a lot. I think everyone in MMA world has a love-hate relationship with Dana White, right?
Yeah.
So,
But
yes, he did deliver, and we get an exciting new fight, which is the rematch of Islam versus Volkanovski. Their last match, which happened in Sydney, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the UFC name, but in Sydney, they had a very, very close match, which a lot of people thought Volkanovski won. And Volkanovski is someone who fights a division lower. And he comes as a champion from that division, 145. And he was challenging for the lightweight belt, 155, in the last fight. And he pushed Islam to his limits, escaped all of his wrestling attacks. He was stuck in back for a couple of rounds, but that's about it. Islam couldn't do any damage. And he ended that last fight on a very, very strong note with a good ground and pound from the close guard, where Islam clearly looked faded. So that was an epic, epic clash. And once again, we are going to get to enjoy this fight as the main event of UFC 294 now, the modified main event. And this time, I think we can expect the same level of competitiveness. Why? Because Volkanovski is someone like who is always in shape.
Yep.
This man works super, super hard on or off training camp. He recently even had a daughter, baby, I guess. So he was busy. I would say he was not in full training camp, but I think we need to weigh the balls of this man because he's carrying some big ass balls, guys.
Fruitful balls. Just had a baby.
Fruitful. Choice of words is amazing, Joe. I think you were almost reaching for the fruity. So, yeah, what do you think? Like, itne short notice pe itna important fight, which is the title fight again. Have you seen any Volkanovski matches?
Of course, all of them. He's my favorite guy, I would say.
He's a favorite UFC
Yeah.
fighter. He's also the pound for pound #1 guy. So,
Yeah.
definitely one of the most badass man on the planet. So, what do you think about this fight?
I'm very excited. I was sad. I was looking forward for Oliveira because उसमें story ये था कि he's kind of coming back. There's that revenge element, and I loved Oliveira's last fight. I almost cried in the end when he was in the crowd, and it was a good moment.
Versus Dariush, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that feeling was kind of coming that okay, he's on that territory, and let's see what happens. But chalo theek hai. Now this fight, amazing. I actually loved Alexander and Islam's last fight. It was a 5-round, and I remember this was the first time. In fact, this is the fight I had got into UFC. Ki now
Achha.
after this fight, I was watching it every weekend,
Nice.
and so it was an amazing fight. So now to see it happen again, and rematch to tab se hi chahiye tha. So now it's here all of a sudden, and yeah, this guy we are not afraid that Alexander will perform bad because he is always in shape. So
Yeah,
let's see.
in shape, plus he also has a great game plan. So he knows that Islam's greatest strength is wrestling, right? And Volkanovski works with Craig Jones, who works heavily on the principle of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Scrimmage is something which is anti-wrestling. I teach it a lot in my classes. I post a lot about it on my stories. I practice myself a lot of scrimmage wrestling, which is like the art of getting back up to your feet after getting taken down.
Yeah.
It's the part of the wrestling which a lot of people don't master, don't have it yet. They start playing guard instantly once they are on the ground. They assume ki, okay, it's a jiu-jitsu now situation now. But you can use some jiu-jitsu and wrestling tactics to start to convert that position again into a battle where you're trying to get up versus he's trying to hold you down. And Volkanovski really mastered that and showed it in
Yeah.
his last fight. Because if you remember, Islam was taking him down multiple times and he was just bouncing back up every single time. And that is the reason why Islam by 5th round got so fatigued. He was like, how the hell should I stop this guy?
Yeah.
Although, in that fight, Islam did get a better of him on the feet.
Yeah.
So if you
Striking
saw
was
he
good.
was landing some sick knees. He was landing some sick strikes.
Yeah.
So he was beating him in the boxing department for sure.
Yeah. I did realize this the last fight that there was kind of an emotional extra baggage over Alexander. He was fighting in his hometown, and you know there was a bit showboating going on.
Yes.
I think this fight he won't do that.
Yeah.
He'll be a bit more focused.
I think yesterday he released a video because everyone was like, yeah, this man accepted the fight, such short notice, we want to hear from him. Released a small clip where he was like, this time I'm coming off my couch on a 10-day notice. So I have no pressure on me at all. This time all the pressure should be on Islam because if he can't beat the guy convincingly who is coming off the couch, it will be hilarious.
Yeah.
And what was funny is ki Khabib, in a video of his own, he was like, I don't care who is the number one guy or number one contender in 155 pounds. Even if King Kong makes 155 pounds, we are ready to take on him. We don't care. Which is another great badass, that Dagestani mentality, that rawness.
Yeah.
So definitely love both guys in this fight. I'm a little bit, again, leaning towards Islam because he is better on the feet. I hope Volkanovski has made some adjustments though, because he's a very, very smart fighter who game plans. But last time he disregarded Islam's striking and he paid for it. So Islam is better on the feet since our last fight. We can view that. But he also has that wrestling tenacity where he can just keep pushing and just win by the willpower.
Yeah.
So that is something which even Volkanovski has a ton of willpower and the ability to fight out of bad positions. But that's why it's such a fascinating clash. Like, even while talking about it, I'm thinking, oh, even Volkanovski might take it. You never know.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to predict. And I don't want to predict, but I would still go for Islam, given that he has strength on the feet. And his wrestling, even if it gets neutralized by Volkanovski, he can still keep it more of a stand-up battle this time. But even if Volk wins, bro, more power to him. Winning a new weight title on 10 days notice, it will cement him as one of the most decorated athletes, probably one of the GOAT of the sport.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the second fight, the second big change that happened. And this one was something that nobody believed that will happen until we see these both guys in the cage. It is Khamzat versus Paulo Costa I'm talking about. Paulo Costa is known for being the joker on the internet. He's always making memes. But one thing, unfortunately, that he cannot do is come to the fights. Because what has been the last time that he fought? I think last he fought Luke Rockhold. And that was not a very, very convincing victory. Yeah, he won by decision, beating almost non-threatening Luke Rockhold now at that level. So yeah, a lot of people were thinking how this fight will go because what Paulo Costa has going for him is the physicality. But even in this fight, I was very, very confident that Khamzat will take him out because Khamzat has the kind of ferocious wrestling that you don't see very often. Like that kind of aggressive grappler, you'll never see in UFC. And not only his wrestling is great, he also chains it really well with the submissions. So if you remember the last fight that he had with Kevin Holland, he Dars choked him after taking him down immediately. That happened like so quick. So that was another fight that everyone was wondering, will it happen or not? And that's what made it exciting. And then we hear that Paulo Costa's elbow is infected by staph. And he made the mistake of not hiding it, but posting it on the social media.
Okay.
And once you do that, then the athletic commissions will take a look at it and they'll be like, bro, you can't fight.
What
And
exactly is a staph infection?
so staph infection is basically viral, you can say disease, or not even disease, but viral infection that can get caused into you if you are training in unhygienic conditions, and if you are training a lot, which generally, if you train a lot, your immunity goes down because now your body is working overtime in serving your grappling or your sports need, because you're working so hard. So your immunity level goes down, and that's when you are more susceptible to these infections. And staph is really deadly one because it's very nasty. You have to go through a lot of antibiotics. In some cases, people also die from staph.
I see.
So it can really get super infected. So it is something which is very, very common in MMA gyms. If you are not keeping good hygiene and if you are not nourishing yourself well, it's very easy to get infected by staph. So those things are part and parcel of the training. So I won't blame too much Paulo Costa. But yes, he has gotten a rep now of not showing up to fights. I think I saw an infographic in which in the past 4 years, he has cancelled like 4 fights.
Whoa.
Which is not a cool thing for the fans.
And not a cool thing for a fighter as well, right?
Yes, but again, the kind of replacement that Dana got us here makes this more legit fight in my opinion, and much more exciting. He got Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight champ, to come in for Khamzat. And that is a sick fight because Kamaru Usman is himself a very high level grappler. Plus he has great striking. He has very, very technical striking. And I think after his famous or infamous Edwards loss, a lot of people have started discounting him that, oh, he's not as good anymore. He has had some knee issues, some ACL injury or something, which can definitely make you very, very a former shell of yourself if you are not completely healed from it. But Kamaru's ability to just grind through in those positions, and again, a great guy with a great willpower. So this makes for an incredible fight again.
Now, do you think Kamaru was active?
Kamaru Usman had the last fight. I think he lost a decision. Can you just check? Oh yeah, he lost the second Edward fights by decision. That's why I couldn't remember the name. So he had that rematch with Edwards, which he lost by decision. So technically, Edwards is the only guy that has beaten him till from his famous run that he had at welterweight. So to say that now even Khamzat will beat him is a big stretch in my opinion. Kamaru was a champ for a reason, and hopefully we see the classic Kamaru once again. And I'm rooting for Kamaru to win here, even though I know Khamzat is like very strong and up and coming fighter. But the problem with Khamzat is that he's so unreliable in his fights. Like most of the time he's fighting once in 1.5 year, 2 year. So I really want our man Usman to take this one.
Yeah, one guy, Leon Edwards, defeating him means styles make fight, right? But he's defeated on and on.
Everyone in the division. Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, Rafael Dos Anjos, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. Basically the entire division. He cleaned out the entire division until Edwards had that rematch with him. And I think they have had a trilogy till now. Because very early he beat Edwards, and then... So Usman, in my opinion, has very, very high level wrestling. And he has demonstrated that in the cage. So he will definitely do a good job countering Chimaev's wrestling. And other factor is that Chimaev has till now gone against guys who have not been the best of the wrestlers. Like that Gilbert Burns fight was great, but even then he's like primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter. Who are not very well known for their wrestling defense. But Gilbert Burns has great wrestling defense from all of his years of training wrestling. So if Gilbert Burns nullified Chimaev through his wrestling, I think Usman has a much high level wrestling than him, and it will be a great fight. Like stylistically, it's one of the best fight that we have. But the only factor which will make me refrain from picking Usman is that he's coming on a short notice. Maybe his conditioning isn't there. Maybe his cardio isn't there. Whereas Chimaev is famous for the beast cardio that he has. Like there are footage of him training in the gym, 10 rounds of 5 minutes grappling, 10 rounds of 5 minutes MMA, which is insane to think of. It's like 2 hours of brutal training where you're doing
Jesus.
grappling and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and then MMA.
And Kamaru also has to do the mental game, right? He's lost the last 2 fights.
Yes, but that's where I think it wouldn't matter for him because he lost against an opponent, the same opponent. If it was a different person that he lost to, let's say he again lost to Colby Covington, then he would be like, oh, am I not good anymore? But he has just lost to one guy who has his number, and there are people sometimes who you cannot win against because they just know your game so well. So I think that way Kamaru will be a really solid replacement. I think it's Khamzat who is sweating right now. He would be thinking that it's an easy fight where he would take
Paula.
Costa down and then it will be a short night.
Yeah.
But now against Usman, he has a real nut to crack.
Yeah. A real challenge.
Yes.
2 amazing fights. Cannot wait.
Let's quickly talk about Charles training, which lost us that fight, right?
Yeah.
So Charles Oliveira, there was a old video in UFC embedded episode that they posted. I think it was the time when he fought. Who did he win the title from? He won it against Justin Gaethje? No. Charles Oliveira won the title from
Michael
Chandler. Right, where he knocked out, TKO'd Michael Chandler. So, in the preparation of that fight, they showed how these guys train. And in the fight week, like 1 week before the fight, just pre-fight week, they were going balls to the walls in the gym. Like, super hard, shots to the face, shots to the head, flying knees, things like that. There's a video on YouTube, you should watch it. I think you can plug it, where they are going super, super hard. And that's the kind of training which gets you dropped so much in the UFC. Because most of the Charles Oliveira fight, if you see on UFC, he just gets dropped very often. One hard shot to the face and it gets dropped. That means that his chin is getting tested a lot in the training room itself. So it did not come as a big surprise that he sustained a cut leading up to the fight, because maybe it was a elbow, it was a flying knee, who knows, maybe it was a headbutt. So that is something. And a lot of gyms, I want to comment here just about the nature of training. They think that they are being macho, they are being alpha, training like that in the training room. But that is absolutely worst way to train MMA.
Yeah.
Because if you're going super hard in the gym, you are taking away something from your own body every day. And that is something, you fight once, but you train 100 days in the gym, right? So if you are going crazy 100 days, your body is just depleting its natural level of resistance, right? Especially our brain.
Yeah.
Every single time you get knocked out or knocked down, your brain just shuts off more quickly. That's how the science of the brain works.
You get a little more stupid.
Yes, that too. Like CT creeps in a little bit early. Ask Tony Ferguson. By the way, Tony Ferguson is fighting Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, that is also an interesting fight.
That is a very interesting
fight. If he loses
fight.
again, he's...
See, if he loses again, 100% that he's coming back again.
Okay.
Because he is at that point in life where he has thrown caution to the wind. He said, fuck it, let's go.
He said in some match interview or something that he has won 13 matches, so he wants to lose 13, or he wants to equal that.
That's the most Tony thing to do, to go on a losing streak equals his winning streak.
So yeah, that's gonna be a nice fight as well.
But I think at some point UFC should step in if he keeps on losing, like let's say next fight, and then they give him one more fight and then he loses again. They would be like, bro, I think your time is up. And The only thing is that these guys have such big of a star power from their own era that UFC wants to milk it till the last moment. It's a very WWE thing to do. So in WWE, when you become older, when new stars arise, new fan favorites arise, you have to put them over, as in wrestling terms.
I see.
So उसका मतलब होता है कि now you are intentionally you will lose matches by that guy so that you are building his reputation, his hype up.
Oh.
So Tony Ferguson, what he's doing right now for UFC is he's just losing to all these guys and giving them more cred.
Oh, इसने मेरे को हराया तो
Yes.
that's so there.
So even though people wouldn't think that he beat Tony out of his prime, it will still be on his resume. Oh, I beat Tony Ferguson.
I see, of course.
So yeah, coming back to Charles and the training at Truth Boxing, that's the name of the gym. Very Brazilian name, not fit for Indian viewers. So yeah, man, it sucks because even that fight was so exciting. I wanted to see what does Charles do this time when he gets taken down.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have tried to go into submissions, and still Islam would have won that fight because Islam knows how to defend submissions from top. That's all they do after wrestling down. And he could have easily, again, either gone for a submission or good heavy ground and pound. Or at least won the rounds after rounds.
It's funny how both the fights initially we were like Islam's gonna win and Makhachev's gonna win, but now it's like we don't know.
Islam and Makhachev are the same guy. So Islam was gonna win, and the second fight people were like, Khamzat.
Yeah.
But now it's Khamzat's one is more dubious, and Islam and I'm still on Islam. But yeah, it is much more interesting matchups now. The only factor, as I said earlier, is that do they have the conditioning, because their opponents have been just training non-stop for their fight. So, and for Volkanovski and Kamaru Usman, it's a away fight, away from home. They don't have the home advantage. Whereas the fight for Khamzat and our guy Islam, it's like home territory, Arab world.
I see.
Right?
Nice.
What are the good fights are in this card now? So Ankalev versus Johnny Walker. This is going to be a good fight, man. This is going to be a... I think Ankalev is a great striker, but he will take Johnny Walker down and then beat him up and then probably submit him.
I see. And is this guy like a kickboxer?
He's a kickboxer, but he's a dangerous one because he's very unorthodox. So Johnny Walker is known for throwing flying cartwheel kicks.
Okay.
And things like that. So let's move on. Let's check other fights. We have Aliskerov versus Wari Alves. Oh, the fight that we all are interested in though is right there in the prelims. We are talking about Anshul Jubli versus Mike Breeden. And this is the fight that the whole Indian MMA world will be watching. If you know MMA, if you watch MMA, if you do MMA, you are going to be, you are probably aware about this fight already. Because one of our homegrown UFC fighter, Anshul Jubli, is fighting against Mike Breeden, who is supposed to be a UFC veteran. But he's on a 3-fight losing streak. So that gives a great advantage to Jubli to get the first win inside the official UFC octagon for Indian fans. And what a day it will be, guys. What do you guys think in general? What can it do potentially to the Indian MMA?
Completely open India to MMA, right? This will completely open. This will legitimize India. Now you can use this as a sport. Now no longer just cricket and these things. You know, people will look into UFC as a very legitimate sport. Indians
But
will
when
come.
you say people, which people are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about the normal audience, Janta. Unko to bahut maza aayega. You know, of course we are aware that he's
Do you think this will make MMA reach into different parts of the Indian populace? Like people who are, let's say, cricket fans who are not aware of MMA. Will this victory be so amplified that it will outreach into different communities?
Yeah, I think sports people and even weightlifting people will get attracted to MMA once they see this.
Maybe the wrestlers. Because wrestling community is huge in India, boxing community is huge in India.
Yeah.
So at least in all the martial arts community, people who know about MMA, they are going to be watching. And if those people, like let's say the best wrestlers of India starts to like tweet about it and post about it, It will just bring so many mainstream eyes to the sport. And as you said, it will definitely legitimize it because now people can think of it as a thing that India can excel at.
Yeah. So such an exciting time.
Right, bro. This mic is very, very sacred. You can't touch it. Apologize to the audience whenever you touch it because of the boom. So, I think what we are going to do, guys, is again we are reiterating our announcement. We are. Why don't you announce it?
So what we're gonna do is when this happens live, you can watch it live with us. You can hear our commentary while the fight goes on. If you don't like Joe Rogan.
Yes. if you don't like bald, rich multimillionaires who have been with UFC since the day one or probably day 135.
Yeah.
And if you want to have two jackasses commentate the rest of actually we'll have Girish, so that's one good guy in the team.
He breaks down shit very well.
Yeah, so it will be fun. It will be fun, guys. You can have beers, whatever, along with us. We'll be drinking, we'll be watching, we'll be having fun, we'll be commentating, we'll be doing a lot of illegal stuff. But it will be fun, guys. So do tune in. We will be live streaming it from our YouTube channel, which you can find by the name of Magic Man Pod. Okay, guys, let's talk about something interesting, which is also a big fight now because of the promotion that it has had in the build-up. Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul, which is tomorrow. So maybe if Joe is not on top of this, we'll get the podcast on Sunday, which will be one day after or maybe few hours later this fight, because this fight will happen. Can you check the Indian timing? So it will be Sunday around 4 a.m. the main card. Paul versus Danis 3 a.m. Okay, so it will be the main card is starting at 11:30 on Saturday night. So the finale or the main event will happen around 3 a.m. in the morning, or actually on Sunday 3 a.m. morning.
Yeah.
Yes, now we got it. So Sunday go 3 baje hai this fight. What do you think about this fight, Joe?
I think it's gonna be very Bollywood. Paul's gonna come angry. Okay? And Danis would be kind of a joke in the start. Like, you know, वो करेगा कि crowd आओ चिल्लाओ मैं तुम्हारे ला गया हूँ तुम्हारा हीरो और लोगन को सबक सिखाने. Once the fight starts, I have a feeling I would like to see Paul a bit agitated. I would like to see him pissed off. I would like to see him try to, punch that anger out. Don't take it as a boxing match, points में जीतना है. नहीं, be a man now, जा लड़ा. This is what you're coming for, right? Honor बचाने. So I want to see that, and I want to see how it happens. So yeah, I'm excited. Very dramatic.
So मुझे लगता है वो तो वैसे भी होगा because Logan Paul's boxing looks terrible. If you saw his match against Mayweather, which was an exhibition fight, where Mayweather let him play with him for like 12 rounds or 10 rounds, whatever that was. So in that match, Logan Paul was very, very chaotic in his boxing. So his boxing is not going to be 100% like technical, that we can expect. But if he blows his load and gets tired against Dillon very early, and Dillon does a good job because they are using the boxing gloves, right? So he can definitely shield and protect himself and just carry on through the late end of the rounds. Near the tail end of the round, if Dillon Danis gets the best of him, because he has great cardio, that I believe from his grappling days.
Of course.
He has been someone who has great cardio. And I'm sure even our man Logan Paul is well conditioned. But given up the anxiety leading up to the fight and the kind of mental warfare that Dillon has had.
Yeah.
So do you want to give a context to people who do not know anything about this whole rivalry? Like what has happened since the very beginning? A short recap.
The shortest recap, which I'm sure everyone knows, but it was everywhere. But Logan decided to marry someone, and Dillis decided to go after this person. And yes, some people might say they crossed the border. Some people might say everything goes down, in fight and love. But Dillon really, really embarrassed this couple in front of. And people इसको और topic में ले जा रहे थे कि should you marry a person with this many passport?
That's an interesting question though. Can you marry someone who has like what they say a body count of 500 people?
No.
That's what Dylan's whole point is. Ki, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why I'm just bro coding you and helping you out. But yes, that's an interesting question though. Like 500, I would just be super scared of the STDs, man.
Yeah.
before asking her to be my fiancée.
That would be yeah. No.
You know, in this whole incident, I was super on the Nina side in the beginning because he was leaking her pictures from her folders and all. They were stealing it, Google Drive hack karke aise waise. Especially that video in which she famously is asking for a giant big bleep in herself. Have you seen that video?
Yep.
So,
You sent me that video.
shit. That was not meant to be revealed. So yeah, so that video till that time I was like super on side of her. Okay, this is like invasion of someone's privacy. Why are you cyberbullying and all of that?
Yeah.
But then Logan Paul decides to sue him in court. So I thought it is like ethically he was wrong. Dillon Danis was wrong from the beginning to like build a fight, to promote a fight in this kind of way. But if you again counter that with a lawsuit and go to involve the court and the police against a fighter who is morally wrong, but you can't take legal action on everything that is morally wrong, right?
Yeah. And it's a huge 30 million.
Yeah, it will bury probably Dillon Danis. Like it will
Yeah.
take up all of his savings if he is proven wrong, and that's why he's worried about also in the back of his mind, I'm sure. But when you have guys like Conor and all these guys backing you, I don't think you should be that scared. So let's see. He might even change the country. Who knows? So Dillon Danis, at that point of time, clearly arose like a crowd favorite. He gained people's sympathy, which initially he didn't have.
Yeah.
And then they were like, हाँ चलो ठीक ही है, picture ही तो post कर रहा था. Why are you taking him to court for this matter? When you have the chance to punch him in the face for 8 rounds,
Yeah.
right? If that was not the case, yes, the only option is to go fight it legally.
Yeah.
But now you guys are fighting in a few weeks. Why are you going to court and why are you piling on cases on someone? So that is like the cheap way out. And since then, I think Logan Paul's bad day has just been going on.
Yeah.
पहले अभी कल उसका picture है. They were in the press conference and he, at the end of it, he just stood up. Logan stood up and he threw like a low ball kind of mic towards him.
Underarm throw.
Yeah, underarm throw. और Dillon Danis just responded उससे भी double speed में and he threw it directly in his face.
Acha.
And it left a huge cut on his face. Like you
Oh.
could see like a lot of blood drops on the floor in the pictures that were shared.
He threw the freaking mic on his face.
Yes.
Oh.
और उसके बाद जब वो निकल रहा था वहाँ से तो उसको एक bottle ही पड़ता है. So one of his friends on the side, it's
Yeah.
not in this angle, एक और angle में देखना.
Yeah.
One of his friends on the side threw a bottle as they were taking him from here.
Acha.
और वो bottle भी आके इसको लगा सिर में लोगन को. So he's catching like stray bullets at this point. Stray bottles at this point.
Oh man.
इस वीडियो में पता है सबसे funny part क्या है? There was Ariel Helwani. So this guy, if you don't know him, he is one of the GOAT MMA journalists.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the center. Usually, person who is in the center during all this tries to control and separate them. Notice what he will do. As soon as the video starts and there's a sign of violence, he just patli gali se nikalna. See where he is, all the way in the back, just steer clear of all this. He's like, bro, mere ko mat involve karo.
He's the MMA journalist with no MMA.
Yeah, when you are a journalist with no MMA credentials, that is what happens. At the sign of a little bit of trouble, you just scoot.
Nice. I'm excited for this fight.
This is going to be. I just want to see what happens in the ring, like how they approach it, and what happens post. Because I am definitely sure that there is some trouble going to be happening after the fight.
Okay, of course.
Post the fight, they are going to be messing with each other.
Yeah, this is Paul brothers, right? They always want content.
But there is a good news for Dillon Danis that Conor has promised to be in his corner. So Conor might just fly in with all his people, and yeah, that will give him a lot of moral support.
Yeah.
और वो probably इसलिए हुआ because he has not been talking to Conor since like Conor went out of UFC and he has not been competing and training. But अभी इसका last एक interview आया था एरिल हिलवानी के साथ ही. So that was a great interview, and in that he was asked the Conor question, and he was like, I would always be loyal to Conor. He's always going to be one of my best friends even if he does not talk to me. So I think that's when Conor would have seen this and reached out to him. Okay, bro, भूला नहीं हूँ, आता हूँ मिलने. So that's like the story behind this whole fight is pretty epic.
Nice.
Although its foundation is something which is questionable morally, but at the end of the day, this fight happens, they go their separate ways, and this all ends, right? So, other big MMA news which has been coming out is USADA. You don't know what USADA is?
I have no idea. Please break this down.
So
for me.
USADA is basically United States Anti-Doping Agency.
Okay.
It is an organization which tests fighter for steroids. And if you are found guilty of using it, you get punished by getting banned from UFC, getting banned from MMA, from fights and things like that. But the problem with it is that it's the tests and the technology that they need to maintain to stay ahead of the curve to beat these new chemical compounds, the new kind of steroids which are being made in lab all over the world every single day. To beat that, they have to be on the cutting edge of the technology, and that is not cheap.
I see.
And to handle a roster of 800 plus fighters that the UFC has, which is a huge roster, it is very, very expensive deal that they have with UFC. Like they take a lot of money from UFC.
Okay.
So because UFC is like their biggest vendor, it's our biggest client, they have to kind of sometimes listen to UFC a lot. So इसके पीछे का क्या है कि अभी उनका ब्रेकअप हो गया USADA UFC का. So उसके पीछे का स्टोरी है कि Conor McGregor wanted to, or this is what I'm getting from the internet, कि Conor McGregor wanted to come back and fight last year, like this year, and he was like, I've just recovered, now I'll just go fight in UFC. But they have a clause which states ki, which states ki you have to be in the testing pool 6 months ahead of any UFC fight, or 6 months before you sign a contract for a fight, so that they can keep testing you throughout that period. Because steroids में भी ऐसा नहीं है कि if you just test them pre-fight day, it will give you all the correct results, because people can use and then they can stop the cycle and then they can keep going without those things in the system.
You can manipulate it.
Yes, so you have to keep testing throughout, and that's another problem why it's so expensive, because they have to do multiple testings at multiple points of time. So उसके पहले क्या होता था जब USADA नहीं था UFC में, it was like around 2014-15 they came, I'm not so sure, 2013 I guess. So उसके पहले सारे के सारे MMA fighters were roided.
Okay.
They used to use like उसके पहले का 2013 के pre-UFC का तुम athlete देखोगे ना, everyone is jacked as fuck.
WWE style.
They are super, हाँ जैसे WWE दिखता है, all jacked fighters, it's like the same thing. और उस समय जो exciting matches वो produce करता था ना, because now people have unlimited strength, they have so much gas tank, because you can have a steroid EPO जिसको कहते हैं, for having unlimited, not unlimited but greater than normal aerobic capacity. So now your endurance is next level. So ये सारी चीज़ मतलब superhuman abilities के साथ आते थे UFC fighters pre-USADA. And since the USADA came, a lot of those fighters who used to be like terror due to their use of steroids, they all just fell. One of the guys who was very famous is Alistair Overeem.
Alistair Overeem.
उसका एक बार बस picture देखो, search that picture. Bro, he legit typed Overeem. Bro, it's Overeem.
Overeem. Yeah,
Ovary. What's next? Vagina. Holy shit. Alistair Overeem. So this guy looked like, look at this picture.
Jeez. Yeah, that is WWE.
That is not real body. And he fought the steroid monkey, which is Brock Lesnar.
This, of course.
So this happened UFC 100 or 201, something like that. 141, sorry.
141.
It was a wild era before that.
Look at this guy.
type another fighter, Vitor Belfort. So इसको लोग TRT Vitor कहते थे.
This
Look
guy.
at this guy. अभी ये post USADA ऐसा हो गया था इसका figure. Look at pre-USADA figure. This was the guy.
इनका yeah.
He is known as the GOAT fighter on steroids. जैसे steroids गया इसका career खत्म हो गया.
Do you think the fight quality went down after this happened?
Definitely it did, because now people became much more human. And the playing field also, look at this guy. The traps on him. TRT Vitar, legendary नाम होते थे पहले लोगों के. So GSP kind of quit. Retirement benefit, yeah, I read this. यार ये लोग करते रहते हैं एक दो स्टेट में, but universally ऐसा कभी मुश्किल है होना. MMA fighters are going to get basically what he just showed me right now, guys, if you're listening. Showed me that there is a law which got passed in California state in US where MMA fighters का एक pension fund वो बना रहे हैं, because most of these MMA fighters after their career is over, their body is in bad condition.
They're a little bit stupid.
They lose a lot of brain cells throughout their career, and they just become like a guy who comes from war and gets PTSD. Their situation is as bad. So they have created a pension fund where I think you have to fight around 39 to 40 fights in the state to be eligible for that, and whatever earnings they have from the crowd, from the ticket sales, they will allocate $1 to that fund, which is still like very bare minimum, but at least there is an effort. So
As in $1 per ticket.
$1 per ticket, yeah, not the entire $1 million sales.
Have you watched this movie called Concussion by Will Smith?
Concussion, I haven't.
It is about the retirement of English football players. I mean, the US rugby
The NFL players.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, they during their retirement, they have these seizures. Sometimes they go wild and they just shoot themselves.
It's terrible, bro. The biggest example is Muhammad Ali,
Yeah.
who got Parkinson's, which is a classic case of CTE.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people, and media does not cover you at that point of time. People have new stars, new people come into the limelight. So even the UFC veterans, there are guys like Chuck Liddell, who was so famous before as one of the most savage fighters of UFC. He used to knock out everyone. And again, he took so much damage throughout his career that now he feels like he's not in the right mental state, or it appears like. So these guys are examples of what. और UFC में इसलिए इतना इस topic पे अभी conversation या debate नहीं होता है, because the product is very new. It's just like 20 years since the launch. 30 years. 1993 में हुआ था. So the repercussions का sample size जो है, that is not even 1 or 2 whole generation. So 30 साल में, 40 साल में, you will start seeing the effect that it has on fighters. Whereas NFL and all these sports have been there for longer, so they have more research and more science behind the fact. Right? So Joe, what else do you want to discuss?
So you have travel plans for the end of the year?
Yes, bro. So
Where are you going?
So we are going for the ADCC trials, which is happening in Singapore. Finally, the time has come. We have been talking about this since past year. And I'm going to be competing in one of the most stacked competitions in Nogi grappling scene that happens in Asia, which is the ADCC trials, world trials. If you win this trial, you go straight to the world championship, where you face like the top grappling stars of all time.
Yeah.
Or of your generation.
Yeah.
So it is like a golden ticket, उसका क्या कहते हैं, wild card entry basically, that people have. But people say कि ADCC trials are more difficult sometimes than the original ADCC, because the number of grueling fights that you have in the trials, they have like 7 to 8 fights throughout the day.
Okay. Just of you. Like,
Yes,
wow.
and those fights can stretch from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
Wow.
So basically, you're fighting 7 matches throughout a span of one day. Super exhausting, and yeah, it's an achievement to win a trial. And Asian trial is definitely not one of the most toughest, but now the scene is improving where a lot of very, very, very good grapplers are coming from Australia, from Japan. They are coming from even places like China, Taiwan, Thailand region, and then we have these Dagestanis or Uzbekistanis, Kazakhstanis who are also in Asia. So they also send their best wrestlers who have now learned jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So it's a super, super tough event, which especially this year is going to be.
Are there any players that are going that you know of?
Yes, so there are a few. I think that a lot of Indian guys will go to
Okay.
compete. We have guys from IJJ going,
Hmm.
Devojit and Devesh. These two guys, some of my good friends. And I think Devesh was telling me that a girl also from IJJ, Natasha, she is going. So 3 people there, and then I'm sure people from Warrior Scope, which is a neighborhood gym in Gurgaon, they're also going. And they also have some good guys who can do really well in this competition.
Nice. What are you hoping to get out of this competition? You're going there.
Good question, good question. So, I'm not making any excuses, okay? First, I have to say that, which is an excuse in itself. But
Excuse him.
but I did not have like the best training room for past 2 years. Because we have started a new gym and everyone is mostly people are beginner who have been training for 1.5 year, 2 year.
Yeah.
So that is something which happens when you start a new gym. You have to start from zero.
Yeah.
And in jiu-jitsu, training partners is everything. Okay. And definitely I've had the opportunity here and there to train with other people across the country as well. But it's nowhere near having a stable group of high-level training partners where you are training best reactions every single day. And you become accustomed. Jiu-jitsu में एक चीज़ होती है timing. So your timing has to be sharp. That's how you can beat. Like let's say कि I know at equal level, you know at equal level, right? And now you are, let's say, attempting an underhook from me, on me from the bottom. Now I should have the idea that you are attempting the underhook, but not only the idea, but I should also have the timing that when you go for it, I nullify it, taking a whizzer, getting a thumb post, something like that, for example. So in that, your training partners who are high level will give you very, very close to realistically possible reactions. Which, let's say, if a white belt does it or a blue belt does it against me, it will be a little bit slow.
Yeah.
Or I can see it coming much more faster. Or the dilemma that they will be putting me in will not be that stronger. Their move will be more obvious. So in that terms, every grappler has to have a stable group of high-level people who can give them those high-level reactions so that you can stay sharp.
Yeah.
So that is something that I've struggled with for the past 2 years. Other than that, I think mainly for me this time competing, it will be understanding the playground, understanding the level that the field offers. Because I haven't competed in any ADCC trial event yet. And until you compete on it, until you get to feel the nerves of having like the entire Asian circuit watching you
Yeah.
on those mats, and then I'm sure it will be a different kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Other big factor that kind of inhibits me from performing at my best is that I haven't had a lot of competitions under my belt, which is something that you must have if you're going for a big competition like this. But again, situations, blah blah blah, whatever happened, I couldn't compete much. So these two factors is what I'm tentative about, but I'm still trying to give it my best. So I've decided to go to IJJ, which is a top Indian academy out of Bangalore. I will do a short camp, very, very short camp than I would have really preferred, of around 10 days. And then I will leave with the same folks for Singapore. So I'm going to have a great experience. I'm going to get a lot of data from there. And then we'll see we'll see. Life will keep moving on, but definitely I'll go and have fun because I think that's the underestimated part of competing. That people put so much pressure on themselves sometimes. Ki, oh, now I have to win. This is my last year of competing. This is my second last year of competing. What if I don't win? What will people say back at home? I never want to compete like that because if you start putting pressures like that on yourself, life will just become too hectic for you than it needs to be. It's just a grappling competition. It's a very niche sport, jiu-jitsu in itself. The people who will watch and care about you are like probably you can count them on your fingers. Yeah.
Have there any Indians gone to ADCC yet?
I mean, people in personal capacity definitely can go and compete. So ADCC trials की अगर बात करो तो उसमें you can go and compete. There's no foundation, but people in ADCC World Championship from India, no one. And whoever does that will be like a grappling superstar in India. So it's a very big deal. It's an offer which is up there for the taking. There are few really good guys in the country who can definitely win trial on their day. One guy, Debojit, obviously from IJJ, is really good, like all well-rounded.
Yeah.
He can do that. Devesh had a great performance in one of the ADCC Opens in Thailand. So he also on his day can beat people. Other guy from Warriors Cove, very few people know about him right now because I don't think he's big on social media or whatever. But I've trained with him in the room when I was there. Rajas Diwan. This guy is really good. And right now he has been training in England, I hear.
Okay.
So he has been winning competitions there as well. So he can also do good damage in the Asian circuit. So these are some very good prospects. I would definitely want to win it whenever, as early as possible. But as I said, realistically this time I'm going to collect more data, have more fun, and we'll see what happens. Okay, that's not the best attitude to win trials, but I understand. There is no, I'm in no rush basically. I have a lot of competitive years ahead of me. I'm just getting bigger. Maybe debut in the plus 99, minus 99 kg next time. So let's see.
And if it doesn't work, you're big.
Yeah.
WWE the headache.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, we still have this podcast.
We still have the podcast.
We'll have a lot of good experiences to share because it's exciting for me just to visit because the best of the best from the Asian BJJ scene will be there. So just a chance to see those matches at the highest level and to interact with people, that is going to be an amazing opportunity.
The energy would be fire.
Yeah. So that's why I asked you also to come, but you're bailing out on a trip. I've asked Girish to come actually. So if he comes, it will be sick. We are planning to do the IJJ plus the trials thing together. He won't be competing, but he'll be around me. He'll train alongside.
Of course, that'll be nice.
That'll be fun, yeah.
Nice. All the best for that. Looking forward. So that's happening on 25th of November.
25th of November, yeah.
And then you'll be back, or what's your plans?
I don't know. Don't touch the mic. Stay away. We don't have the best production equipment. मेरा आधा anxiety तो उसके तरफ देख के है कि भाई मत छू मत हिला mic को. It ruins the audio. That's why. So क्या question था तेरा?
सिंगापुर के बाद.
सिंगापुर के बाद का क्या plan है? So I'm in a dilemma as of now.
What's the dilemma?
A very very big financial dilemma or moral dilemma. कि fight के बाद should I enjoy myself and probably go to Thailand, which is kind of equal budget to travel to India directly from Singapore, or I can do a pit stop in Thailand, and because these IJJ guys are going to Thailand after that, Phuket.
Nice.
So maybe going to Phuket and getting some more training and then coming back with some sort of learning at least. That makes more sense. Whereas if I lose and then I come back bummed, it will just be hectic. So let's see. Whichever works the best. I can't be too long away from the academy itself because obviously I have a job of teaching here. So let's see. It will be a good 2 to 3 weeks that I'll be off from here.
Got it. All the best. Let's see what happens.
Yes, you will all see. You can't see though because you require a Flow Grappling subscription, which is very very expensive. But definitely I'll record videos and never send you if I lose.
There's no Russian links for that?
I don't think so. Asian trials are not so big that people will be illegally streaming it. Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
That sucks.
And it's good for us. Nobody gets to see someone getting highlighted. But it'll be on Flow Grappling, so anytime you want, you can ask a friend of yours or buy Flow Grappling, which is super expensive.
Anyway, do you want to answer 2 short questions?
2 short questions.
Yeah.
Would you rather answer 2 short questions or 1 long question?
In this case, 2 short questions.
ठीक है.
Okay, but you can give me long answers for them.
ठीक है.
So first, in this, I'm dealing with it myself. What to do when someone doesn't respect your tap? When you do this, and you literally मेरे को बोला last time, अरे हो गया. I don't think हुआ, and he squeezed a bit more.
Who is this?
मतलब वो सब ट्रेनर जो है, what's his name?
Sub trainer, assistant coach, bro. I mean, you
don't
have
want to get him into trouble, but
no. I think a lot of beginners make this mistake of not clearly tapping, and not only beginners. I see this fault in a lot of, and it will sound like I'm victim blaming in jiu-jitsu context, but hear me out. I think a lot of people, when they tap, they are so softly and gently tapping on people that most of the time you can't even feel the tap. Okay, because maybe your body is aligned in a different way, the tap is not visible to you, and sometimes if you are tapping hard and on the mat, it's not obvious to the person because it might be you trying to base, which will enact the same kind of sound. So that happens a lot, and I see that quite often in our academy as well, and I always reprimand people ki please tap in a way that I can feel it or other people can feel it. Because sometimes in the heat of the moment, you don't realize when you're finishing a submission, you're trying to squeeze with all your strength. That does not work. But if you're spazzing and he did that to you, what were you doing?
I was tapping.
but how many times did you tap?
Like 4-5 times. In sense, I try to get away till I can. If I can, then chalo tap karo. But I was tapping and he's more. ऐसे 2-3 बार किया है उसने.
Yeah, so I wouldn't blame you for that anyways, because sometimes in the heat of the moment that happens. He does not have a reputation for it. That's why I'm not leaning in favor कि उसने जानबूझ के किया होगा. But yeah, it is a dickhead thing to do to not release the choke immediately. Especially if it is a choke, I might let it go. But if it was a joint lock and he did that, I would definitely have a word with him.
हाँ, that was not the case. It was a choke.
So because choke में बहुत बार क्या होता है ना कि when you're squeezing too much and too hard, जैसे ही लोग टैप करते हैं तो वो choke का effect release होने में थोड़ा time लगता है because your hands are sometimes so flush with the neck कि वो 2 सेकंड चिपकने से निकलने में लगता है.
Like
that also happens.
I'm tapping और मेरे को एक सेकंड 1.5 सेकंड बाद सांस लूंगा मैं.
हाँ.
Face goes red. People है वो तो लाल हो गया. हाँ लाल हो गया. चोक खाया मैं.
Yeah, your eyes get bloodshot if you are in a good choke. You'll feel like you're high. Just woke up. So did you see Dillon Danis actually choked some British woman?
Yeah.
अभी fight promotion के time में. She was like, yeah, let me see, and then he just finished her with an RNC in like 5 seconds.
But she started shivering, right? She started
that is a real reaction which happens. So when you get choked out, you lose control of your body movements. So a lot of times in UFC also you'll see after people go out, they'll come back with a jitter. So that happens a lot, especially if you're trying to, in your mind, if you're trying to move, but your body is not responding because you have no central nervous control at that point of time. But in your mind, the movie is continued. That's why you'll see a lot of times fighters. I was seeing a clip on Instagram where a fighter got knocked out, and then when they stood him up, he was like, "Oh, the round is just beginning," and he was going to touch gloves. Imagine, he got choked out, and all the officials were still came into the cage. So he thought, "Oh, this might be the start of the fight," because he was so dazed and confused at that point.
I've seen something similar where the fighter actually tries to get hold of the referee's leg.
Yeah, they start wrestling with the ref during the stoppage. That happens. A lot of people pee themselves, which is the worst, and you don't want that to happen to you ever.
Especially if we have Russian links and we can see. Our friend in Nepal, he asked us the same question 7 times
Who is this friend?
when he got hit by that axe.
Axe?
Dheeraj,
But what axe did
the
he?
person who hit him was a axe woodcutter. तो उस हाथ से मारा था.
Acha.
And what happened is like he had done this right to stop the
Ah.
match. So he was forgetting coming to that place, stepping into the ring. सब कुछ भूल गया था वो.
Right, that was a flash knockout. He just stood there and he was already knocked out. Yeah. I was very pissed after that match. Do you
You
remember?
were pissed, yeah, because
I was very, very pissed. I knew कि it's wrong to react emotionally in the moment, but I was just pissed कि he did not follow the game plan. He worked throughout that game plan. He had a shoulder issue, which we were aware of, but we tried to formulate a game plan around it where he did not have to completely just match fire with fire and go with a takedown when the opportunity presented itself. But never once in that match he did that.
yeah, he was showboating also a bit.
Yeah, and then he was showboating and all of that, and then he got flash knock. Yeah, it was a shitty situation. I remember you being with the camera around, and I was like, shit, this is going somewhere. In some clip, this is going to be alive. So that was bad.
Okay, next thing, wrestling and jiu-jitsu works really well. In no-gi, do you think how good does judo work?
I think we should keep a counter. Dillon Danis सब इस पे आया था ना एरियल हलवानी के शो पे, तो उसका उन लोगों ने एक लाई काउंटर बना दिया था. Every time he said a lie, it would go ting. Every time he touches this damn mic, it would go ting. Motion sensor. So क्या पूछ रहे थे कि
Does judo work in no-gi?
Judo works in no-gi? Yes, definitely. Judo works like a charm in no-gi. It's just that it's more difficult. It needs more precision. It needs more timing. More better setups. क्योंकि judo का पूरा जो concept है, it's based around the principle of off-balancing people. And it's easier to off-balance someone if he's attached to a piece of cloth. Especially the judo gi and the robust clothing that it comes with. Because now you have like these additional levers through which you can pull people by. Right? But in no-gi, all of that is removed. Now you no longer have that thick gi cloth on you. Most of the time you are wearing a t-shirt or a rash guard or sometimes even topless, depending on how good your abs are. So in no-gi, it's more difficult to break people's posture. It's more difficult to off-balance you, and that's why it requires a lot of integration with the wrestling. So you have to use things like underhook, overhook, and then work your judo from there, or things like foot sweeps, which are integral part of judo. So if you mix them well with your wrestling, then your stand-up looks super good.
Have you ever done any judo training?
I have done judo training officially as well, but I did not like it as much because of the fact it was in the gi. And the time when I was doing that, I was like, okay, I've officially checked out of the gi competition, so I don't want to work on something which will not give me direct immediate result in the no-gi scene or no-gi comp. So I was training under a judo black belt when we were under the Combat Lab brand name. So यहीं पे जो हमारा जिम था रेबल, ये पहले Combat Lab, so उसी में हम लोग ट्रेन करते थे. So that time there was a judo black belt who used to come and teach us. और judo का basic ये दिक्कत है ना कि if you learn it from an official judo coach, they are going to teach you judo as a sport. Or judo as a sport, what is that? It's just that you have to throw people on the ground and the match stops.
Yeah.
Ippon.
Yeah.
If you do a good throw, it's a ippon. If your back touches the mat. And if you go on the ground, there's like 10 seconds or 15 seconds of survival time. If you can just survive, you are again back to standing.
Okay.
So it does not have any importance for the fact that I want to hold you in a good position on the ground. So what people will do in judo a lot of times is they will do a lot of sacrifice throws where they are pulling people over their body and then trying to reverse them, which is a little bit dangerous if not well timed, because now you risk getting stuck under someone, self takedown. Another problem is that there is a lot of throws which expose your own back. So ये arm throw और क्या नाम होता है, सियो नागे, ऐसा throw होता है in which you can you have to expose your back. Now it works great if you have a gi, because in gi you have that security of the cloth, where you can keep pulling people even if they're trying to hang on your back. But in no gi, it's so slippery and things are not so tight, so you can easily just slip your hand while people are trying to pull you over their back, and now you can take their back. And considerations like that. So when he used to teach us all those classic judo throws which end up on the ground giving you the back position. So if I'm throwing you, I will end up giving you my back. So those things which I did not like. So that's why I did not do a lot of formal training, but throughout my own studies and learning from the internet, I have incorporated a lot of judo in my game.
Who do you learn from when you learn from the internet and stuff?
So there's this very good guy, J-Flow Judo, shout out, his Instagram channel. He was the coach of Ronda Rousey.
Oh.
Ronda Rousey was one of the best female UFC player of her time. So J-Flow Judo, that's his name. His name is Justin Flores, I guess. So he has great content on judo, integrating judo into your MMA or jiu-jitsu game. Then we have a lot of jiu-jitsu guys who use a lot of good judo, like Sound Judo, Gordon Ryan, the Danner team, the B team. So you can learn a lot from their channel as well. And basically the foot sweeps and all these things remain very similar. So you can borrow foot sweeps from the, like, look at this one. He's doing a foot sweep over here. He's moving you with the collar tie, and now he's sweeping you with a sasai. Not a sasai, but diashi. So these things can be integrated very well in your wrestling and your stand-up game. So it's easy to learn it, but it's difficult. Sorry, it's easy to watch it, but it's very, very difficult to learn it because it requires a lot of practice of getting people to move in the way that you want and then execute the move at the right time.
Yeah.
So judo used to have a lot of like wrestling also, like as an official sport. Like फिर बाद में क्या हुआ कि a lot of wrestlers came into judo competitions and they started just double legging everyone. And if you go for leg tackles most of the time, it's very difficult to do judo. Judo requires this upright posture.
Acha.
But if somebody starts immediately attacking your leg over and over and they are good at that, if they're a wrestler, now it becomes very difficult to do judo with them. So that's why they banned any attack below the waist. So now you can only, in judo competitions, attack with throws, upper body, leg hooks, but you can't physically grab the pants.
I see. Now, have you watched Game of Thrones?
I have. It's one of the best shows. I don't care what people say. One of the top TV shows ever made. They botched up the ending though. 7th and 8th season. Last 8th tha na?
Yeah.
So they really I was not a fan of the ending. A lot of people are split on this. How Arya Stark kills the Night King. Night King naam tha na?
Yeah.
वो मेरे को बड़ा odd लगा कि a guy who is super omniscient, who knows everything, who can sense fear, who can sense all your moves. He's so dominant, and he gets fooled by this trick where she just drops a dagger down and passes it to other hand. Basic magician misdirection.
Yeah.
So that was a very weak way to end it. एक बार जब विलन को इतना पावरफुल बना देते हो ना, so even the ending should be that genius.
Yeah.
I think they rushed it.
Anyway, have you watched these earlier seasons where शादी हो रही होती है, दुश्मन आके सबको मारने लग जाता है?
Yes, that's the most infamous episode.
Yeah.
The Red Wedding.
The Red Wedding.
तो अभी देख रहा है क्या?
नहीं, something similar like that happened last week.
Where?
In the Middle East.
Oh shit! What a segue! Holy shit!
Like that's how I was like, oh fuck, this is how it
got me
felt.
off guard.
They नाच रहे हैं and fuckers just fly off the sky and shoot on their backs.
Yes.
Which is, and I've played Call of Duty a lot. मैंने बहुत गोलियां मारे, खुशी मैं सारा stress निकाला था उसमें. But this time what I did is I went to some Telegram groups to see some unfiltered footage.
Oof! Why did you do that? Holy shit!
मतलब
that's the worst thing to do for your mental health.
It is, oh god, like every bullet you हिल गया मैं, फिर एक और मारा मैं हिल गया, मैं बंद कर दिया कि I couldn't do it because जो इसको मार रहे थे ना वो भी little human थे.
I did this mistake during the ISIS era.
Ah,
वो जब पहली बार इराक के सब में उनका जो पहला फुटेज आया था ना, where they were beheading the journalists and they
Yeah.
were making the brutal terrorism a new thing, और उसी समय मीडिया और टीवी ने बहुत जल्दी कैप्चर करना शुरू कर दिया because internet became big back then. So उस time I remember a video where I watched these ISIS guys. They were just going on a highway with AK-47s, and they were just shooting like it's a regular highway. People are going back and forth in their cars, and they just randomly are passing by and drive by shooting, and the cars are going off because the driver is dead now, and other people are dying, and indiscriminate firing like that in cold blood, and that is what will fuck your brain up when you see people getting murdered in cold blood. Like if we just flip the scenario and it's like a war scene like Ukraine versus Russia situation, now your empathy level might be a little bit low because there's a uniform and there's an ideology which is
Yeah.
between those two people.
Yeah.
But when you see normal civilians getting shot like that, it just takes something out of you.
Yeah.
And I made this mistake a long time ago, so I definitely did not. Even Twitter पे मैं फूक के कदम रख रहा था. I was like, no, I don't want to click on any uncensored videos. So yeah, man, that was horrible. That was horrible thing. And I posted a little bit of rant on it on my Instagram also. देखा था?
But tell me,
Do you ever watch my stuff, bro?
I don't go on Instagram just because I don't have time.
सिर्फ अपने सलादी बैग वाले अकाउंट पे जाता
पोस्ट
है.
करके निकल जाता हूँ मैं, फिर अगले दिन जाता हूँ,
This
लाइक्स
guy.
देखता हूँ, फिर निकल जाता हूँ.
This guy, super. Instagram पे नहीं जाएगा, but he will go to fucking Telegram to watch gore.
हाँ, वो मैंने किया just to see कि भी हुआ क्या है. News was kind of disappointing me ना, everything they're like हम नहीं दिखा सकते, तो कुछ तो दिखाओ मेरे को. तो मैंने देखा, कुछ ज़्यादा ही देख लिया. Then I was like fuck man.
ज़्यादा देख लिया.
But tell me the rant, like what pissed you off?
किस चीज़ पे?
Israel and Gaza.
So, I think ये बहुत ही deep topic है. The problem is when they are ill-informed about a topic, they pick sides. Just because their country's media is saying one thing, and then Indian media, first of all, is very, very frustrating. क्योंकि they are covering the Gaza and the Israel-Palestine conflict at such a massive scale, where there has been a civil war right in our country, in Manipur, a genocide of that proportion, and they have not covered it even like one day properly. Have they? I don't even watch, but I know that they haven't covered it. And they are showing Israel-Palestine war as if it's like your popcorn hour. You're sitting there with the pop fucking corn. Joe Saladi, you'll get fired. Sorry guys, I'll just keeping it away from his dangerous hands. Okay, so back to the topic. So Indian media is very, very frustrating in that way, and that's why when I saw them day and night reporting and covering this issue and showing Israel as the bad guy. Yes, in this small incident, Palestine is the bad guy and Hamas is the bad guy. In that small incident of terror, of unprecedented terror on civilians, Hamas is definitely in the wrong.
Yeah.
But if you see the entire history, if you see the chronology of all the events per se, you will see that both sides are totally in the wrong. Israel for trying to grab the land of original Palestinian people, and I would say Israel is more in the wrong, to be honest. Israel is 70% in the wrong. 30% of Palestinians are in the wrong because they retaliate with brutal violence itself. And I am more of a Gandhian philosophy in this regard, that if you fight violence with violence, an eye for an eye, it will not help the world. It will just make it blind. So, have they gained any fans? No, they haven't. They are just facing the repercussions of it, where now Israel has the license to kill, basically. They are bombarding Gaza Strip to the fucking ground.
And using gas as well, which is...
They can use anything now. They have the license. America came out and said ki, Israel has the right to defend itself. So now they have suspended the internet in that area which is a classic tactic by the governments who want to hide the genocide. They have stripped it of all the water supply, all the electricity, and electricity is a big one because if electricity goes, where do you take the injured? They die. They die a bad death. 3 minutes? Okay. If electricity goes, people have like no other facilities to survive. Like it becomes a clusterfuck of a situation.
Yeah.
So it's very, very inhuman approach, inhuman retaliation, but Hamas definitely asked for it. I know their ideology is that, oh, they are being freedom fighters, they are trying to get their land by power, but realistically that isn't possible because Israel is so powerful with basically the superpower of the world behind it right now, which is US. So they will always crush any kind of uprising in that sense. So I think the only way forward, unfortunately for the Palestinian people, is to approach the situation with more and more non-violence. Trust the Gandhian method. Yes, it will take time. Yes, nobody will hear you, but you'll have to slowly build the consensus. That's the behind the scenes as far as I can comprehend. And the backdrop is, do you want to share some of the backdrop of the whole conflict? Like how did it all start?
So I think I'll play the devil's advocate here. I am somebody who's been supporting Israel for a long period of time, and especially maybe because I have a sense of sympathy for whatever happened with them during the Nazi era. Also, they are somebody who is constantly fighting for their own land and their own identity. That's what's my take on the whole thing. Also, if you see it in a broad way, US and UN has a long, they have blood on their hands in terms of a lot of inter-country or
they always fight by proxy.
Yeah.
They use other countries as their battleground.
किसी को रख के उसके पीछे बंदूक रखो.
हाँ, वो बोलते ना कंधे में किसी और के कंधे में रख के बंदूक चलाना. So that's what I feel. That's what is happening right now.
What is your understanding of this whole situation? I want to understand more historical context.
So historically, this goes way far. Like, have you heard that legend of a 13-year-old farmer boy called David going against this Goliath?
Yes.
That is Israel and Palestine fight. मतलब वो बाइबल से भी है.
Who is Israel and
the farmer was from Israel, a farm boy, and the Goliath was a giant from Palestine.
Israel is David and the Arab world is Goliath, you're saying?
Palestine country. Those
Palestine.
Names are written.
Okay.
Like this is that old. इनका जो बीच का झगड़ा चलता है. But for the modern world, what I know is 1915, Britain had control over where today Israel is. And Britain ने बोला देखो भाई, Jews you don't have any space, so fight for us against the Ottoman Empire. हम ये आपको दे देंगे. सेम डील जाके पैलेस्टाइन को बोलता है फाइट फॉर अस अगेंस्ट द ऑटोमन एम्पायर, ये जगह हम आपको दे देंगे. बट एक्चुअल में सीक्रेट में जाके फ्रांस के साथ डील बनाता है कि वंस देयर ऑल फिनिशेस हम रख लेंगे
अपनी कॉलोनी
जो हो गया, खत्म हुआ दोज का स्पॉट, एंड देन फ्रांस ने डिवाइड कर दिया. देन वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 हैपन, जिसके बीच में हिटलर कम्स, डज ऑल दैट नॉनसेंस टू जूस, व्हिच इज ट्रूली अगेन Israel has the group of Jews have suffered a lot throughout history. वो सच है.
Why? Okay, this is a funny question in that context. You know when they say कि if it's you who is getting wronged every time, maybe there is some problem with you, not the entire world. So I'm not justifying any kind of violence that they have endured. But do you think like as a community, it always created trouble maybe for the places that they were in, and that's why they faced persecution? People wanted them out.
It's just, yeah.
What is the reason that this specific community, out of all the community in the world, has been facing all the persecutions ever?
Which is a very strong question that we want to ask, right? Like, I remember searching myself, why did Hitler hate Jews? What was the exact reason? And the top 3 reasons was, so dumb, like, oh, he had sex with a Jewish prostitute and caught a HIV, something like that.
Yeah,
Dumb reasons.
Even I heard that he got dumped by a Jewish woman, and then his mother on his death.
I personally haven't been able to find credible sources of why Semitism exists. Why do people hate them?
So I feel like maybe I'm just shooting in the dark, but maybe this can be an answer for that. So Jewish people are always very ambitious. Okay, as a community, they are a very ambitious community, and whichever country they are in, they always climb to the top of the ladder, of the social ladder, of the economic structure. Why is US supporting Israel since the very beginning? It's because US has a big group of Jews. They say that Hollywood is run by the Jews, which shapes the entire narrative of the country. So Jews have always occupied these positions of power in whatever countries they have been. And maybe sometimes when they're in the minority and they try to do that against a government or a majority, that irks the majority. Like how in India people are right now worried कि हिंदू खतरे में है और ये बहुत ज़्यादा Muslims are gaining a lot of power, appeasement की वजह से, politics की वजह से they gained a lot of power, so we should put them in place. ऐसा that political mindset has the thinking, right? The majoritarian wing. So maybe that kind of thing happened with Jews also wherever they went, and ultimately it resulted in Nazis' treatment or mistreatment or genocide of the Jews. So yeah, but go on. That was my one input on that.
Yeah. On this, what I felt is once Israel did not have any land, right? I think वो एक mentality में आ गए थे कि अब तो हमें power में रहना पड़ेगा in order to survive. So I think now they're trying to reach on every top.
So here's another question for that claim to the land part. So there are a lot of communities in the world, a lot of religions in the world who technically live in minority throughout, like Buddhism for say. When it spread, its original country was India, but then they spread to different parts of the world and then they just settled and then they just stayed there.
Yeah.
Why did imagine people from a Buddhist community in India coming out and saying, oh, we want a whole country for ourselves? And you can make a case that in Japan a lot of people are Buddhist, so it's a Buddhist country, and in Myanmar and other places. But slowly they became the majority there. But why do you want to claim an entire state, an entire piece of land where it's just you?
Yeah.
That is against multiculturalism in the first place.
Yeah.
No? Why can't you survive as a community in different parts of the world and then just grow organically where maybe one day you become majority, like how the Punjabis right now are doing in Canada?
Yeah.
They are like, fuck it, India is not as good, let's just go to Canada and make it India.
Yeah.
So why was there this desperate need? I think it was more political than how it is showed ki they were very unfortunately treated everywhere, so they wanted to just come together and form a group. Mistreatment has happened to a lot of communities in the entire world. Not every one of them are asking for a creation of a state for them. Although that is a very general feeling which any community which gets persecuted, like what happened during India-Pakistan division. The Muslim community was like, we want a state for ourselves, right? And then they got it because again it was the same divide and rule policy of England. So
yeah, with these guys, I think their patriotism has played a role because they want that dome where they believe this is the land where our history has taken place, which is why we want to actually come here, because it's actually better for them to go to a different place. It's safer for them, but they're risking that danger coming here because in their heads हमारी यही कल्चर है, हिस्ट्री है, तो हमें यही लैंड चाहिए.
And that's what Zionism is the whole movement about.
That's where how it started. Zion का मतलब ये है कि a mountain जिसके ऊपर ना हम रहते हैं या फिर हमारा वो, that's the meaning of the word.
So historically it started in 1700s or 1800s, जो मैं उस पे study कर रहा था, and they said कि there was this guy, his name I forgot, he wrote a book, The Judean State, where you have to go back to the home country, to the homeland, and that triggered a lot of migration of Jews to the Palestine. So now my question is ki what happened when they arrived Palestine first? How did they interact with the local, because most of them were Arabs back then, right? It was a Palestinian nation. It was a colony of Britain, but it was still majorly Arab, the whole
So
part.
now what happened once World War II ends and Britain वो लगे से ना हो गया, Britain's like I'm done with this place, UN आ जाओ, divided between Palestine, divided between Israel, we are out, ठीक है, handle this, हम जा रहे हैं. But this is where I kind of am losing faith in diplomacy. Like you believe in Gandhi, right? I used to, but I'm losing faith because what UN did is, and this could be political. ये मान लो कि इजराइल का लैंड है, राइट? तो ये पूरा जूस के पास, ये पैलेस्टीन which is the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and then बीच में there are these tiny settlements जो हम बोलेंगे कि पैलेस्टीन है, जेरूसलम को इंटरनेशनल बना दो, एंड वहाँ पे मुस्लिम्स भी आ गए, जूस भी आ गए, ये भी आ गए. सो नाउ इमेजिन दैट हलवा वेयर एक तो मेरी आधा देश वहाँ है, जाने के लिए मेरे को इजराइल के बीच में जाना है, देन बीच में ये सब जगह जहाँ पे हम हैं. सो yes, and of course if Israel had more land, of course they would be like यार पूरा ही ले लो. So they started pushing the Palestinian people out, and that's where this happened. And the Palestine में से जो extremists थे वो चले गए Gaza Strip. Those created the group called Hamas कि we are going to take things by force.
Yeah. So what you're describing is basically the two-state theory, the two-state plan that they enacted. I think it was 1947-48 during the first war. उस समय जब हुआ था. So two-state theory शुरू से ही flawed इसीलिए थी because of this exact reason that you said, because they bifurcated it in such a खिचड़ी way कि if you keep those factions not separate with a clear line of control, it is obvious that one or the other will try to dominate each other.
Yeah.
Palestinians more with more rage because for them it's like अरे मेरा ही country आके आधा ले लिया.
और अभी जो बचा वो भी ले रहे हो.
They came like, it's like how the British came as travelers to as the East India Company, and then they stayed for 200 years. But imagine them never leaving and just bifurcating India in half and calling it half of it is Britain and half of it is India.
Yeah.
So how would you as an Indian feel? You would feel like I want my land back.
Yeah.
So it's the same feeling in Kashmir, by the way. Kashmir is also a very, very equal issue or similar issue to Israel-Palestine, or so it is said by the different parties, because Kashmiri people are like, oh, India did agreement with us, but it did not honor, so we want a separate state for ourselves. And India is like, bro, we already annexed you and we already made this agreement, so now you are never getting the land back. And crises like these are going to be persistent throughout. I don't think they have any solution to it, because on one side, when you have a super imposing power, then they can crush you time and again. And the only reply or the response that you have as the weaker power is to just do these bombing and these kind of attacks that Hamas is doing.
Yeah.
So for Palestinian people, they are hero. And that's where the matter of perspective comes in, that if you just choose a side, know why, what moral stance are you taking, what ethical stance are you taking in supporting that. And in Israel-Palestine, if you choose any of them like blindly, or like you completely support any of them, that means you're ignoring the atrocities that the other side is committing. And that Israel is, by the way, because the whole Gaza Strip and the whole West Bank is called as the open air prison of the world, especially the West Bank area, because they have built like metal bars. You can't go out of it without permission. You need special visa to travel in your own country. And why this issue has become so much more violent now than, let's say, in 2000s is because Israelis are playing the long game. They understand that they can't just annex the whole country in one day, the Palestinians, because the world community will not take it, because everyone is against the colonialism now, right? So what they're doing is they are creating these settler colonies in those West Bank regions, and they are providing a lot of subsidy, lot of aid and funds to people, even from US. So the Jews living in US, they get paid to come and or they get cheap houses that they can buy in West Bank, and they just want to come and occupy land there. And I remember watching a Vice report on this, where they went and recorded what's actually happening in West Bank. These guys also like have immunity to provoke the original Palestinians there. They will go kill someone, they will kill a kid, they will murder someone, they will rape someone, and Israeli forces, defense forces will do nothing. Because they have the immunity, they are staying there, they are risking their lives, and they're also furthering the Israeli tactic of winning the place just by overpopulating it with Jews. And I was seeing a map in which during 1947 and now 2023, if you see the number of territories that Israel occupied then and now, it's almost like overrun all of the Palestine.
Yeah, it feels like Hamas has done this one big thing against Israel, and Israel has done many small things against.
Yes, but the problem is that it's so sensational that most of the people will be. So this is what the powerful governments are expert at doing. They will bury the entire genocide that they commit, and if you respond to it, your response, they will just show it on each and every mohalla and corner,
Yeah.
and they will make you look as the bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so difficult to pick side in this. You can't be in any way not condemning the Hamas attack because it was on civilians who had no business getting killed in that most brutal fashion. And yeah, man, it's a clusterfuck.
So-
Geopolitical issues are beyond our pay grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We are not a research scholar who is sitting and analyzing all the historical records. All the information is through YouTube. So guys, if you feel any kind of anger or any kind of anxiety with our positions, just tell us. We'll send you the YouTube links that we saw. You can go and channel that energy in the comment sections of those YouTube videos. Right?
Yeah. Today is day 7 of this war, right?
Day 7 of the atrocities that now Israel is inflicting.
Yeah,
We
I
can
mean,
call it that.
very clear evidence of schools, colleges, shopping complexes being bombed while people in there, like, you know, hospitals. Very clear, evident.
Yeah, definitely don't watch those videos.
Yeah, I stopped. I couldn't take more than a couple.
Another weekend comes, the day that you're bored, and you'll be like, "Chalo, dekh hi lete hain." What else? What else do we got, bro? I think it's 5 o'clock. We have to train at 6:30, so we can wrap this up very soon. Yeah.
Alright.
So, any last questions that you have? Any fun questions?
Let's
We
take a
can
look
take-
here.
This was a heavy topic, so we need something fun.
Yeah, we need some.
Uh,
Like, who is the most polited fighter right now?
most polite fighter.
That guy, the BJJ guy,
Uh,
Italian BJJ guy, Missy.
Oh, the
The-
Jiu-Jitsu guy.
the nice boy.
Mikey Musumeci.
Yeah,
But that's not MMA. He's a Jiu-Jitsu guy.
high in the fight world.
I would say nicest motherfucker का title तो इसके पास है, Wonder Boy के पास.
Who's Wonder
Stephen
Boy?
Thompson.
Oh, that
He's
guy.
the karate guy.
Hmm.
So he's called the nicest motherfucker because he's so humble and so gentlemanly
So,
outside and inside the octagon.
so there is baddest motherfucker and nicest motherfucker.
Yes. This is like unofficial nicest motherfucker. It's not a real title. But the baddest motherfucker.
Pick anyone if you like.
If you were a professional wrestler, what would be your stage name and signature move? ये fun question है.
And are there any WWE moves that people can do in the octagon?
उन लोगों ने किया है एक क्या कहते हैं बॉस्टन क्रैब.
Okay.
बॉस्टन क्रैब देखा है? सर्च कर. जिसमें कि बैक पे प्रेशर आता है. क्रिस जेरिको करता था ये वाला.
Okay.
देखा होगा.
हाँ, इसमें backs.
ये देखिए ही MMA फाइट में इस बंदे ने मार दिया था.
अच्छा.
So हाँ, बॉस्टन क्रैब इज समथिंग दैट हैज गॉटन यूज्ड. और WWE का कौन सा मूव यूज हो सकता है? आई थिंक इफ यू कैन पिक पीपल अप. हाँ, एंगल स्लैम.
Angle
Kurt
slam.
Angle मारता था ये.
Hmm.
Where you just pick people with one leg, hold their hand and then throw them back, fall backwards.
अच्छा. ये MMA में?
नहीं, ये मैं कह रहा हूँ कि MMA में लोग यूज करते हैं because it's very similar to a move called high crotch. It's a
अच्छा.
wrestling move in which you grab people with that hand
हाँ.
and then you lift them up and throw them back. Daniel Cormier ने मारा हुआ है ये. पीछे जाओ. Daniel Cormier was famous for his high crotch finishes.
Daniel.
DC, Daniel Cormier. CORMEIR. MEIR. अब ये लिखो सिंगल लेग फिनिशेस. इस पार्ट को एडिट वाला जिसमें भी हम लिख रहे होते हैं ना उसको कैंसिल कर देगा. हाँ, play it. इसमें देखो the way he's lifting. Boom. What's the most useless talent that you possess, Joe? And can you demonstrate it for our listeners?
The most useless talent.
Most of the time, if it's a useless talent, you can't demonstrate it because it's not demonstratable, right?
नहीं, useless you can't demonstrate means not worth demonstrating. Talent मतलब कर तो सकते हो.
हाँ.
तभी तो talent.
लेकिन मे बी तो ऐसा टैलेंट ही नहीं है जो मार्केटेबल है या टीवी के सामने करने लायक है.
हाँ.
What can be that talent be?
Yeah, that's a good question. What's the most useless talent I have?
Mind reading. Joe, let's do this live mind reading thing, ठीक है?
ठीक है.
Think of a number between 1 to 10.
All right.
Don't make it very easy like 5 or something.
It was 5. Okay, I'm going for another number.
Another
Done.
number?
Yeah.
This does not work the second time, but is it 7? Yeah. I know a lot of you guys also thought 7. Boom, that's called mind reading live.
Okay. Would you ever show more of your magic tricks and stuff? It's called the magic pod, for crying out loud.
Yes, maybe one day we'll do a magic show episode.
Why have you put that thing behind you? Like, why is it such a thing?
Because it's something that requires a lot of practice to perform, and I don't want to do it when I'm not practicing the craft, you know, because that will be an insult to the craft itself.
I see.
Unless you can do it really well, you can do justice with it. You don't want to do it, and because I haven't done it in a while, I mean, yeah, I can do some stuff which is going to be still very amazing, but yeah, maybe we can do it. It's just that I don't know. I've just fallen off. That's a good question.
Let coins pop up out of my ears and stuff, you know.
The cheapest magic trick ever, which has
Get
been
rich for free.
with coins.
Yeah, you do the magic, मैं घर लेके चले जाऊँगा.
यहाँ से चौक तक भी नहीं पहुँच पाएगा उतने पैसे से. What's ये flavor of ice cream वाला? How did you come on to these questions, bro?
I went to ChatGPT and I said, give me interesting questions to ask on my podcast.
ChatGPT is the most boring questions ever.
So I saw this cream for neck marks and for dark skin. So the name of the
dark chocolate.
No, Nigrix.
Whoa, Nick Riggs.
Yeah, Nigrix.
Yo, that's crazy.
What does the rig part mean?
I have no idea. Nigrix.
Next.
I had a white
Skin-like
African friend from Botswana and he used to buy me face mask and stuff as a racist joke.
See, at least their marketing is good. We are talking about them randomly, right? Nigrix. If you could replace all the grass in the world with something else, what would it be and why?
That particular type of grass. जो जिसके अंदर THC होता है. हाँ.
The real grass.
Imagine.
Bro, all the cows would be high all the time. Wait, मेरा mic क्यों हिल रहा? Are we having an earthquake? पता है बहुत बार earthquake आते रहता है आजकल इधर and we don't even feel it.
The last one I felt it.
You felt it?
Last one was it scared me for like 3 seconds because वो हिल रहा था और रुका नहीं. And 8 seconds.
What was moving?
Like the fan completely moving, me moving. You know.
अभी तक मेरे को जो strongest feel हुआ है उसमें the fan was shaking and then I was like fuck should I just run down?
Should we run out?
And then I was like fuck it. गिरना होगा गिरेगा यार. Let's see what happens. Like the laziness, the procrastination overcame the survival instinct there.
ये तो होता ही रहता है. That was what I was saying. ये बंद
लगा यार यहाँ पे रेगुलर लैंड में थोड़ी ना होगा इतना स्ट्रांग. 7 का तो नहीं आएगा. ये 3-4 से डरते नहीं हो.
Nice. So we have tomorrow as our Fury fight, Logan fight. Yes. Then we have UFC and then we have
UFC coming on. So it is going to be an exciting weekend, guys. The next couple of weekends. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to that live stream thing once again. Hopefully, we still haven't worked on it really. We are just promising people. So we'll definitely look into it very, very soon and we'll test it out. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, or if you want to have any kind of debate, topics, suggestions, whatever you have, please keep sending it to us. Our producer behind the camera is warning us of the last dying minutes of the show, so we'll end it here. Joe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and don't fucking touch the mic ever again. All right, thank you guys.
Bye bye.